Good evening, Florida, and welcome to Coastal Conservative News, where truth has a backbone and freedom still has a home. I'm Michelle Posey.
And I'm Allie Leger. We're bringing you the bold stories, the real headlines, and the voices that matter most, right here from the heart of the free state of Florida.
Yes, from Tallahassee to the Suncoast, we're tracking the political shifts, community victories, and constitutional battles shaping the future of not only our state, but our great nation.
So buckle up. It's time to get informed, get fired up, and get involved. This is CCN, Coastal Conservative News.
All right, let's kick things off with your week in review.
Good evening, Florida. Welcome again to Coastal Conservative News Week in Review. I'm Allie Leger.
And I'm Michelle Posey. Tonight, we're stepping beyond the political headlines to bring you the stories that impact your everyday lives, from wildlife and public safety to sports, culture, and community developments across our great state.
These are the stories you won't always hear about, but they matter, so let's get started.
Wonderful. To start, guys, Mote Marine has expanded. They've moved and changed names. It's now Mote SEAC, which stands for Science Education Aquarium. Mote Sea has grown to 146,000 square feet and moved from City Inland in Sarasota to University Town Center Drive in Sarasota.
Among many of the attractions, there is a 2-story saltwater tank that holds 400,000 gallons of water.
Wow.
And there's this little special viewing that you can do underneath. You have to
nice.
crawl to get underneath it in the Florida Water Gallery. I'm sure the kids are going to love that.
This.
There is also a virtual reality experience option for those who prefer it. Another amazing addition are the 3 state-of-the-art STEM teaching labs that will offer lessons for K through 12 students across Tampa Bay.
That's amazing. Now, you may be wondering, what will come of the other facility on City Island? Well, don't worry, renovations will begin to restore it and make this facility more focused on marine research. That makes sense since it's right there on the coast. The facility is not only important for marine life and protections here in Florida, but it will also improve tourism and experiential education.
Which is great for our kids.
It is. It's wonderful. Let's move to weather now. As all of you know, it is hurricane season here in Florida, and we are watching the weather very closely. Now, Hurricane Imelda is now moving farther east out into the Atlantic, still causing rainstorms and surges on the coast, though. Now, according to the National Hurricane Center, Tropical Storm Jerry is farther southeast and poses no threat to Florida as of now, thankfully. Tropical Storm Jerry is projected to continue to move west-northwest at 18 miles per hour toward the Leeward Islands. Also, Attorney General Uthmeier took to X to make sure that all Floridians are aware that as of October 1st, Allie, airports are no longer open to weather modification activities.
That's right. He also informed us that if you become aware of any airports violating Florida's law, you can report the infraction, obviously, to reportfloridaskies.com.
Ooh, that's good.
Guys, all you have to do is your phone. That's it.
reportfloridaskies.com. Florida is serious about making sure the law is followed. Who said Republicans don't care about the environment?
Exactly. All right. Small, easily hidden, and hard to detect. Bluetooth tracking devices that have been traditionally used to find your luggage or your keys are now being misused by criminals for stalking, or even worse.
Oh my gosh. Stalking someone with these devices is already a crime here in Florida. However, the updated law has stricter punishments due to the rise in cases. Over 100 have been filed this year alone.
Wow. That's incredible.
It is.
The new updates took effect on October 1st, and anyone convicted of using a Bluetooth tracker device to commit murder, aggravated assault, robbery, or other serious offenses could face up to 15 years in prison.
This is good. With advances in technology, it makes it increasingly easier to enable predatory behavior, and Florida is aiming to get ahead of it by strengthening existing laws. That's why we choose to live here.
Right, and that's exactly, it goes in line with what we heard from Representative Danny Alvarez last week.
Absolutely, you're right. And now here is your Suncoast Community segment with Raj Doraisamy.
Hello, my friends. This is Raj Doraisamy with a very special report. We're now hearing from across the country the unthinkable, specifically in some parts of the country, the Republican parties that are in those states unimaginably seem to be turning hostile to many of their conservative members, Republican members. What do I mean by this? Well, we are hearing reports of the Republican Party ejecting members from county leadership that were voted by the people in that county. We're finding that certain states and certain counties within those states are suspending membership to the Republican Party from people who describe themselves as MAGA Republicans. The question is not really what they describe themselves as, whether they call them MAGA Republicans or some other kind of Republicans, but the very idea that Americans who call themselves Republicans are being removed from their own Republican Party. And what's most troubling is that all of this is being done under the guise of unity. To be clear, we're now seeing many reports where, in the pursuit of unity, people who are using the voice of dissent are being thrown out. What is the excuse? How do they justify this? Well, we've asked the leaders who are responsible for this, and they are saying that the Republican Party is a club, a private club, and as such, a few people get to decide who gets to be a member of this private club and who does not. This has culminated now in certain Republican groups that have been thriving, and thriving as defined as growing membership, raising money, backing candidates. Leaders of these Republican clubs are now being quote unquote fired, suspended. It seems in some ways that the Republican clubs, the Republican Party in these states and in certain counties is falling apart. All of this during a time when we have the most magnanimous, effective Republican president in recent history, or maybe even recorded history. How is this big disconnect taking place between the president, who is calling for people to come together to make the country great, and his own party that is literally ejecting Republicans from membership? To talk about this, we had an opportunity to sit down with David Kalin, who is a businessman in Charlotte County, here in the state of Florida. Since taking office, his group has been effective in terms of growing numbers, raising money, and forwarding the Republican brand within his community. To hear the shocking reaction of what the Republican Party has done to David Kalin, we had a chance to sit down and talk with him and ask him himself. So, David, I wish it was better circumstances where we're speaking with you. I'm delighted, though, that we have an opportunity to speak with you about this. And I can't wait to get into all of the details about how this is taking place in your county. So thanks for coming. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on to be able to talk about some of the issues that are happening. It's not just my county. It is happening statewide here in Florida. I am the chairman for the Republican Party in Charlotte County. I was voted in last December. Had been tumultuous for the last few years with our executive committee. We finally have that calm. We have direction. We have fundraising. We've had multiple successful fundraisers. We are self-funded. We don't require on from the state party for funding in order to operate. We are endorsing candidates, quality candidates in our primaries, and we just endorsed 2 weeks ago a candidate for our city race, which is this November. And it appears that most of the counties where you have effective leadership and effective boards and their executive committees, that the local Republican Party, seem to be the targets, whether it's Manatee County, myself, a few other counties, where you have a unified group with a unified message that we're going to work with our local conservative clubs, our organizations. We're going to work within the rules, but with organizations such as yours. And we're being met with massive pushback from the RPOF and its leadership, namely Bill Helmick. He is the executive director of the Republican Party of Florida, who has actually filed a number of grievances against me, and then just continues to tack on more as we go through the process. And not to get into all the details on it, but we're talking about ridiculous stuff like breaking Rule 23, that I can't endorse or financially support any outside organizations that are not chartered under the RPOF, which we have not done. But then they handed down a edict. It was you shall not even talk to them. Well, that's not in the rules. And quite honestly, if it's not in the rules, you can't enforce it. But yet they're intending to try. They're now, because I did speak at a conference about unifying, joining the local party, growing the numbers in your local party. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? That's what we're tasked with as leaders in our community. And I'm being met with, wait, you're now using the logo. That's copyright infringement. You can't do that. Well, I'm the chairman. My board voted to let me do it, and yet they're filing a grievance for doing so. And what has really precipitated, without getting into the total details of it, but it's become, like you said, a club with an ownership of the Republican name. They've gone after numerous organizations over the past year for using the Republican name. I liken it to being a Christian. You don't have one church telling another church you can't use the name Christian. A Christian is a moral value, an ideal, a belief system. That's what the Republican Party is. It is a belief in constitutional values and constitutional law working together for the betterment of our communities with minimal government. That's what we were founded on. And apparently now, unless the RPOF says you can use the name, you can't use the name Republican. That is not unity. That is not party unity. In fact, I oftentimes hear the left screaming that we're fascist, we're totalitarianism. Well, I'm going to tell you, the Republican Party of Florida is heading very quickly down that avenue. And I'm going to continue to fight it, whether it's within the party or outside the party. This is not what the Republican Party is about. And it's a shame because we have so many of us that are fighting this fight. We're one of the fastest growing GOPs in the state right now by membership. We had dwindled down to nearly nothing. We are every month we're adding 3 to 5 new members. So we've got a phenomenal following. We've got a lot of boots on the ground. And I think that's the rub. The party's scared that you have a group of people that are unified and are not willing to be under the thumb screws of a single individual or a handful of individuals handing down edicts, not actual rules. And I'm all about rules. But some of this, it's just absolutely insane what's going on. And I'm in communication with quite a few others throughout the state that are in the same position. So for all those folks out there that think Florida is this gold standard, that we are the model for the nation, let ye not be deceived, because it is not what it is being sold as. The party leadership has run us off the rails. We're not unified.
So, my friends, this phenomenon that David is talking about is not isolated to Charlotte County. It's not even isolated to the state of Florida, but we are in the state of Florida, and it is important that the public are aware that the way the Republican Party is enforcing unity, in fact, that's actually an oxymoron right there, at the moment has been done before. This is not the first time that someone has said we're going to force unity by getting rid of the people that are exercising the voice of dissent, exercising their free will. The last time this thing happened was in Germany many, many decades ago. So I want to alert you to what is happening right now. And David is going to be actually providing more information. You're watching this right now on CCN Coastal Conservative News. We're going to put a link in the bottom here where you can contact David and get more access to his information so you can understand a little bit more about what is happening. The reason this is happening is because most Republicans, like yourself, like maybe yourself or maybe someone you know, are not aware of these clandestine tactics, these bullying tactics, these Gestapo tactics. And it's not the Republican Party's values to stamp out the voice of dissent. If we as a nation had done that, we'd still have segregation. Women still could not be able to vote. We'd still have child labor, because all of those things came to pass because this country honored the voice of dissent. And our own party right now is refusing to do that. David, thank you so much for speaking with me. I so appreciate it. And please, again, my friends, look at the links below in the description. Click on that to get more information from David Kalin. Back to you, Michelle and Ali.
Thank you, Raj, for shining a light on the HOA. Very important information there. And we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
We are here to get an IV.
An IV. I heard you have an IV room?
Yeah, absolutely. You just head right back this way.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Knock, knock. Hello. Hi, I'm Michelle.
I'm Sarah.
Sarah, this
Hi,
is Al.
Allie. Nice to see you.
How can I help you?
We're stressed. We're
Yeah.
moms. We've got multitasking going on. I feel like I fall victim to like a brain fog a little bit. I don't know if that's my age or whatnot.
You need a little bit of clarity, a little bit of energy.
Yep.
Is
Right?
there of an IV that you would recommend for that? Thank you.
We call this the brainstorm.
The brainstorm.
The brainstorm.
Come visit We the People Health and Wellness Center.
Where medical freedom exists.
Welcome back to CCN, Coastal Conservative News. I'm Allie Lachey.
I'm Michelle Posey.
Now let's turn from Florida's community happenings to Florida's leadership. It's time for Political Pulse.
We're always in duo. It's just crazy. This is Political Pulse, your Florida First rundown on the week's most important political moves, what they mean to your family, and how they shape our state's future.
Tonight, new support for cops, a major endorsement for Florida's Attorney General, the latest on Alligator Alcatraz, and a hard look at local spending. Let's begin at the top.
Wonderful. So Governor Ron DeSantis announced more than 9,400 recruitment bonuses have now been paid to new Florida law enforcement officers. This is great. Now, the program pays $5,000 after taxes per recruit, with over $63 million distributed to date. That's pretty amazing. They're coming from over 49 states and 2 territories. It's no doubt this probably coming to the free state of Florida because we respect law enforcement here.
Right. We would hope that they would be able to stay in their state and fight for their state, but it's a little difficult when you don't have proper leadership. So
Absolutely.
we just encourage better leadership. Guys, get involved. Make sure you're calling your sheriffs and your police departments.
Yes,
Tell them
absolutely.
to follow the law. That's all we want. All right, this continues a broader DeSantis push on public safety that started in the budget and carried through summer. These initiatives, plus pay increases for state officers and firefighters, are some of the same law enforcement order that we have seen, the law and order enforcement that we've seen through the governor's initiatives.
Absolutely. We've been tracking them all year long. Health freedom is also, and its innovation are also on the agenda, Allie. The Florida Department of Health launched a $50 million annual healthcare innovation loan program, a revolving fund meant to back projects that improve care delivery, workforce pipelines, and tech in Florida's system. The program sits under a new Healthcare Innovation Council to speed practical solutions into the field. Florida Department of Health is where this is taking off.
Absolutely. That's incredible. A major political development, President Donald Trump endorsed Attorney General James Othmeyer for 2026, calling him an America First warrior who's doing a great job for the Sunshine State. The endorsement underscored Othmeyer's alignment with Trump's broader and border and crime agenda, including Florida's Everglades detention facility nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz.
That's right. On immigration enforcement beyond Tallahassee, Collier County Sheriff Kevin Rambosk urged agencies around the nation to enroll in the federal 287G program, which helps local departments identify and remove criminal illegal aliens. There's things that they can do even without needing ICE right now. Absolutely. His bottom line to other sheriffs, quote, "Why wouldn't you remove criminals?" End quote.
It is so important, as sheriffs are constitutional officers, and they must follow what the Constitution says. And that includes immigration efforts in conjunction with the federal government.
Absolutely.
And that now brings us to the facility every outlet is talking about, and some are still trying to shut down.
They get all up in their feelings over this. That's right. Alligator Alcatraz remains open while litigation continues. Now, after a district judge previously ordered a wind down, the 11th Circuit put that ruling on hold, allowing operations to continue during the appeal. A win, really, for Florida's enforcement strategy.
Another win for this facility is that the feds have reimbursed Florida $608 million for construction and management. This payment came the day before the government shutdown.
Just in time. Now, at the same time, the Department of Justice court filings sparked debate, asserting that detainees at the facility, quote, likely include people who have never been in removal proceedings, end quote. Florida's officials maintain the facility targets illegal entrants and criminal aliens. The legal fight now turns to detainee status and due process claims. But I want to remind you, if you're here in this country illegally, you are not entitled to due process.
Right.
We know process isn't for illegals, as they are not citizens and have crossed our border illegally. It is not on the taxpayer, you and I, to pay for the public defender for these people and court fees.
Exactly. They just keep kicking the ball, the goalpost, right? 1 minute it's the actual facility, now it's due process and the detainees. Guys, the information and the intelligence that our law enforcement, in conjunction with the federal government and ICE, they understand and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
Trust the process.
Yes.
They're not locking up people that have been here legally.
Right.
It's all illegal criminal aliens. All right, now Second Amendment news with a policy twist. Publix, one of Florida's largest grocers, is now permitting open carry in its stores after a recent court ruling clarified that landscape. As always, lawful carry must follow state law, and each customer remains responsible for safe, respectful exercise of their rights.
I mean, guess who's going to be shopping at Publix now? Expect that other retailers, guys, will also revisit their policies as well. For you guys out there, we need to make sure that we know the law. Respect any postage signage that you see where it applies, and be a good ambassador for the Second Amendment. I mean, we love the Second Amendment, but we do have a responsibility there as well. So don't be the person that catches headlines because you weren't responsible.
That part.
Guys, Attorney General Uthmair's Office of Parental Rights put K-12 gatekeepers on notice. The state will take legal action against any public school that blocks students from forming a Turning Point USA chapter that frames the viewpoint neutrality as a student rights issue, not a political favor, right?
Exactly. And in the legislature, a new bill would designate October 14th each year as Charlie Kirk Day of Remembrance. Sponsors say it honors the slain conservative leader's impact on youth civic engagement and free speech.
Absolutely. Speaking of Charlie Kirk's Day of Remembrance, Sarasota, right here, Sarasota County, we're having a Turning Point USA headquarters kickoff. Did you know we had now a headquarters here in Sarasota? This is amazing.
They do now.
The kickoff is going to be this Sunday, October 12th at 3:30 p.m. We can't wait to see you. You are all invited. It's a family-friendly event at Maxine Barrett Park, which is coastal right here in Venice. If you have any questions on how to start one in your own area, if you want a countywide chapter, or if you need help getting a high school chapter started in your area, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach out to us at contact@coastalconservativenews.com. You can also reach out to tpusasrq@gmail.com. Guys, from classrooms and campuses to city halls, let's talk accountability with our young people.
Ooh, so exciting. Florida's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and statewide fiscal leaders are sharpening the pencils on local spending. In Jacksonville, Governor DeSantis and Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ingoglia, also known as Gov Gone Wild, blasted what they called wasteful spending, while the mayor's office pushed back, calling the state's criticism partisan and defending its own efficiency moves. The bigger point, DOGE and the governor argued those savings could translate into property tax relief.
Wonderful. And this week, CFO Ingoglia said he'll reorganize his office to expand forensic audits of local governments. I wonder if that'll include school boards, highlighting Seminole County as a fresh target in the state's waste reduction push. The clear trend line: more audits, more scrutiny, and stronger cases for returning tax dollars back to your pockets, the taxpayers.
Absolutely. Now, for perspective, reporting over the summer showed the legislature didn't advance a multi-million-dollar property tax cut package the governor wanted, a fight that may shift to the ballot next cycle while DOGE hunts for savings jurisdiction by jurisdiction.
That makes sense. James Fishback, he lives right here in the state of Florida, has gone to X and called out the Republican Party of Florida's own Bill Hemlick, and really Congressman Rick Scott as well, for encouraging people from blue-run states to move to Florida. Now, James says, quote, "Stop telling people to move to Florida. We are full. We can barely provide for families and retirees who made our state what it is. We are closed until further notice. No vacancy. Florida is full."
Now, many people we have spoken to, and by the hundreds of comments in James Fishback's post, Floridians agree with him. We would encourage you to stay in your state and do what you can to turn it around. You must be the change you wish to see. Having Republicans in those states move here looks good for registration numbers, as the Florida GOP has reported Republicans outnumber Democrats by 1,386,733 registered voters. However, if they're not willing to fight in their own state, how can we here in Florida depend on them to help preserve our freedoms we have fought so hard to keep and restore here over the last several years?
Good point, Allie.
Now, as AG Uthmeyer stated in an ex-post, Florida will never become Portland.
Absolutely.
And now, let's go to Cam in the moment.
Welcome back to Cam in the Moment. I'm Camden. Here are your week's biggest moments coming up. All right, guys, welcome back to the new segment here on Coastal Conservative News, Cam in the Moment. Before we get started, I do want to mention that today marks the 1 month. It's been 1 whole month since Charlie Kirk was tragically assassinated in Utah, doing what he loved most, talking to students like me and people like me on college campuses. So I do want to just remember that, and we honor him, and we won't stop the fight for truth. It feels like yesterday to me. I mean, it's been a month. It's incredible, but we will continue the fight for truth. So let's get into it. First, something big is happening in Florida right now with immigration. So we're going to talk about that, and then some pro-life stuff, and then we'll get to our wholesome moment of the week at the end. So Florida just received $13.6 million in federal funding from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to support its partnership with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So big deal. It's a lot of money. And this actually helps give money and resources to the troops of the Florida Highway Patrol so that they can do their job to protect you and me. Like, we are American citizens, and it's actually sad to see other states and governors and mayors who are not even letting ICE into their states. They're saying, no, you can't do that, which I don't even know if you can do that. It's federal. Biden did, he said he had control of immigration federally, so I think we should be able to do the same. But it's kind of sad to see that, because they are there to protect us from the immigrants that aren't supposed to be here in the first place. So to those people, I say, what would you say to Laken Riley's parents who lost their daughter to someone who wasn't supposed to be here in the first place? Or even, how about in Florida? Let's not forget the victims that just recently lost their lives in Florida at the hands of illegal immigrant Harjinder Singh. I don't know if I said that right, but he did that illegal U-turn in Florida and killed 3 lives. Irby Dufresne, Rodriguez Dor, and Fanola Joseph. So we remember those victims. And that's why it's so important to keep these people out, because a lot of them have criminal records. I mean, 500 illegal aliens have been caught by the Florida Highway Patrol, including nearly 900 with criminal histories. So that's why it's so important. But DeSantis actually weighs in on this and actually talks about the high costs of illegal immigration. Watch.
But here's the thing. I love how the media will say, well, how much does it cost to house a detainee? They never ask, what's the cost of illegal immigration? How much does it cost schools? How much does it cost hospitals? How much does it cost the criminal justice system, our jails, our prisons if people are committing crimes? What's the cost to families that have been victimized by criminal aliens? They never talk about those costs. And so what we're doing, yes, we're going to get reimbursed, but we're saving costs on our society by enforcing the rule of law. And so what we're doing is leading the nation. We're doing the right thing. We also have zero tolerance in Florida for attacks against any law enforcement, but particularly ICE personnel. You try that here, you're going to have the book thrown at you, and you're going to regret that you didn't do it. Florida's not Portland. That's not how we roll, and we respect and protect the people that enforce the laws on our behalf.
I'm just so grateful for a governor who actually supports law enforcement. I haven't seen a governor so pro law and order ever in my lifetime. I mean, DeSantis has been that person, and we should really be grateful while we have him here in Florida. You see states like Chicago, like Illinois, with their governor, and Chicago with the mayor, who completely are anti-ICE, just not even letting these people do their jobs, that they're called to go in and protect the people there. They're not even letting them in. So we should be very grateful that we live in the free state of Florida with someone like DeSantis right now, who's not afraid to say, yeah, we're going to support these law enforcement officials who want to protect you and me. It's very sad to see this, governors, but we're going to keep you updated on the funding, and it's just great that we live here. So we'll keep you updated on that. But meanwhile, a major win in Florida for pro-lifers across the state this week, as Fort Lauderdale has closed its doors to an abortion facility and redirected all traffic to Orlando. So the Sidewalk Advocates for Life confirmed that on October 2nd, last week, the abortion clinic, Fort Lauderdale's Women's Center, is now closed. And the thing is, they call these things women's centers, and they're going to look at us and say, how could you celebrate them closing down a women's health center? Well, we're happy a baby killing clinic got dumped, disguised as reproductive health care. I mean, do they really think we're going to fall for that? I'm all for pro-women and for pro-women's health. But for these people, I ask you, how is that pro-women when 50% of abortions are probably killing women? We're not going to disguise these things as reproductive health care when it's killing the thing that's supposed to reproduce. Do you know what reproductive means? That's what I ask. But you'll hear the media say that. Don't listen to them. The mainstream media always goes over these things and kind of just disguises them as these great things, while we see locally here what is really happening. And when you get to that level, it opens your eyes when you hear places like these that really are just killing babies. And so I'm happy, again, to live in the free state of Florida where we have stuff like that going on. But for the pro-lifers in Florida, that's great news for you. And DeSantis is also very pro-life, so we should also celebrate him and continue while we have him. It's about to be the 2026 midterms where we're going to get a new governor. So just stay alert, stay on your toes, and remember to research the candidates that are going to be running, because we want to keep this state the way it is with law enforcement, immigration, abortion rights, and pro-life out of that. We want to make sure we keep the ideas that we have here because of who's running the state, just like the country. But state level, we really need to stay on our toes. So we're going to get into the good news moment of the week now. Charlie Kirk's birthday will be celebrated Sunday, October 12th, with a cookout and kickoff hosted by the brand new Turning Point USA Sarasota headquarters. So it's a really cool opportunity to go and celebrate his first heavenly birthday, because this guy, man, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, he fought for truth, and it's the same thing we're doing now. We will never forget his impact. And so we're going to celebrate him locally here in Venice. If you are able to make it in your local, come for free barbecue, awesome speakers, and just a night of honor and remembrance for him. I'll be there. I'm going to be signing books and speaking and all these things if you want to meet me there. And we're going to really continue the mission that he left us. You know, Turning Point is a big organization, but these chapters are local impact. And this event is going to showcase that and how we can actually help just push the mission forward where we live. Because if there's no chapter where you live, start one. There's no excuse anymore. Come out to the event, see what it's all about, and we're going to be celebrating his life. Just like I said, it's been a month since. We're never going to forget his impact, but here we are. We'll keep you updated on that and everything we do here on Coastal Conservative News. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias at Camden Trey B, where you can ask me questions and let me know your thoughts on the show, just what you think about what we're talking about here and where we go from here as a country and as a state right here in Florida. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for coming to Cam in the Moment. See you next time.
Thank you, Camden, for those crucial moments this week. Life is winning, Floridians are winning, and America is winning. We'll be right back, guys, after this quick commercial break.
They've censored the truth, manipulated the narrative, and told you to sit down and shut up.
But not here, not on our mic.
Open Mic with Ali and Michelle is the podcast where free speech lives, patriotism thrives, and the truth doesn't whisper, it roars.
That's right. We break down the stories the media buries, the policies that threaten your freedom, and the culture chaos Gen Z is waking up to literally every day.
From whistleblower exposés and global conflicts to the spiritual war on masculinity, we don't just talk about it, we say what they won't.
That's right. If you're tired of soft takes, scripted spin, and really plastic politics, it's time to tune in and turn up.
Because this mic is always open. Welcome back to Coastal Conservative News. We will now go to this week's Faith in Focus with Kevin Gamble.
Welcome to Faith in Focus. Today we're exploring Genesis 1 through 11, a foundational portion of the Bible that sets the stage for God's story with humanity. Specifically, we're going to unpack the anthropomorphic language used in these chapters, the intriguing figure of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and how scholars like Dr. William Lane Craig and Wes Huff help us understand Genesis through the lens of the mytho-historical genre. So let's get started. First, let's tackle the anthropomorphic language in Genesis 1 through 11. When we read passages like, "On the seventh day God rested" in Genesis 2:2, it's easy to picture God kicking back after a long week, maybe taking a divine nap. But is that really what the text is saying? Anthropomorphism is when human characteristics, actions, or emotions are attributed to God to help us grasp his nature and actions in terms we can understand. God doesn't have a body, nor does he get tired like we do. Scripture is clear in places like Isaiah 40:28 that God is everlasting and doesn't grow weary. So when Genesis says God rested, it's not about God needing a break. Scholars suggest it's conveying a sense of completion, satisfaction, and ceasing from the act of creation to establish a pattern for humanity, a rhythm of work and rest like the Sabbath. Dr. William Lane Craig, a renowned Christian philosopher and theologian, emphasizes that Genesis 1 through 11 uses this kind of figurative language to communicate profound theological truths. In his work on the doctrine of creation, Craig argues that Genesis 1 through 11 belongs to a genre he calls mytho-history. This doesn't mean it's pure myth or fiction, but rather a blend of historical intent wrapped in symbolic and culturally resonant language. For Craig, the days of creation, for example, aren't necessarily literal 24-hour periods, but could represent long epochs or a literary framework to show God's orderly creative process. The anthropomorphic language, like God speaking the word into existence or resting, helps ancient readers and us connect with a transcendent God in relatable terms. Craig's point is that Genesis isn't trying to give us a scientific playbook, but a theological one, revealing who God is and humanity's place in his creation. Now let's zoom in on one of the most fascinating and debated parts of Genesis 1:11, the serpent in the Garden of Eden. In Genesis 3, we meet this cunning creature who tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit in the middle of Eden. Was this an actual snake slithering around in a tree, or is there more to the story? Wes Huff, a biblical scholar and apologist, offers some compelling insights here. Huff points out that the Hebrew word for serpent, nakash, can mean more than just a literal snake. It carries connotations of a supernatural being or even a deceiver. In the ancient Near Eastern context, serpents often symbolize chaos, evil, or divine adversaries. Huff suggests that the serpent in Genesis 3 is likely a representation of a spiritual entity. Most Christians would identify this as Satan or a demonic figure, rather than just a talking animal. This interpretation aligns with later biblical texts like Revelations 12:9, which calls Satan that ancient serpent. The idea of a literal talking snake might stretch credulity, but understanding the serpent as a symbol of a malevolent spiritual force fits the theological narrative of Genesis. It's not about zoology, it's about the introduction of sin and rebellion into God's good creation. The tree, the fruit, and the serpent are vivid images that convey the reality of human choice and the cosmic battle between good and evil. So how does this mytho-historical genre, as Craig and Huff describe it, shape our reading of Genesis 1 through 11? For one, it invites us to focus on the why rather than the how. Genesis isn't a modern science textbook or a historical chronicle like we might expect today. It's a theological masterpiece written to an ancient audience with their cultural idioms and worldview. The anthropomorphic language, God walking in the garden, resting, or forming Adam from dust, helps us see God as personal, relational, and invested in his creation. The serpent, whether a literal creature or a symbol of a greater evil, points to the reality of temptation and humanity's fall. As Dr. Craig often emphasizes, we don't need to pit Genesis against science or demand it conform to modern historical standards. Instead, we should read it as a divinely inspired narrative that communicates timeless truths. God is the sovereign creator, humanity is made in his image, and sin disrupts our relationship with him. Wes Huff echoes this, encouraging us to see Genesis as a story that's true in its theological claims, even if it uses symbolic or anthropomorphic language to get there. As we wrap it up, let's bring this home. Reading Genesis 1 through 11 with an understanding of its mytho-historical genre doesn't diminish its power, it deepens it. The anthropomorphic language makes God accessible, showing us his care and purpose for us. The serpent reminds us of the real spiritual battle we all face, but also points to God's promise of redemption. Even in Genesis 3:15, where the seed of the woman will crush the serpent's head, a hint of the Messiah to come. So whether you're wrestling with the days of creation or the nature of the serpent, approach Genesis with humility, seeking the truth it reveals about God and ourselves. That's all for this segment of Faith in Focus. If this sparked your curiosity, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a comment or question on our website or social media. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep your faith in focus.
Thank you, Kevin, for taking us deeper into the understanding of Genesis and how it uses anthropomorphic language, attributing human characteristics to God to convey theological truths. That's amazing.
Absolutely incredible.
Wow, guys, tonight's takeaway. Florida is doubling down on law and order. That's why we love it here. Parental rights and taxpayer accountability also, while the legal battle continues over Alligator Alcatraz and keeps the nation's spotlight right here on Florida.
Oh my goodness, we are leading the way in all things, aren't we?
We are.
All things good.
Yes.
All things good. We'll keep pressing for answers, tracking the dollars, and standing up for Florida families. For Coastal Conservative News, I'm Allie Lejay. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m. right here on CCN.
Absolutely, and I'm Michelle Posey. And if you have a story you'd like for us to cover, you can reach us at contact@coastalconservativenews.com. And don't forget to tune into Open Mic Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Also, you can find them openmicladies.com. God bless you guys. God bless the great state of Florida. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.